The moment Ethan Rivera heard the scream, he froze. It wasn't loud, more like a sharp gasp swallowed by the wind, but it cut through the quiet of the early morning beach like a warning. He turned toward the sound, blinking at the rising sun as it spilled a warm orange glow over the waves. And then his heart dropped. Standing ankle-deep in the water, her hands raised in panic as a heavy tide pulled her bag away, was someone he never imagined seeing outside the polished hallways of their corporate tower. His boss. Ms. Cassandra Hale. The infamous CEO. The woman everyone feared. The woman no one dared to approach unless their calendar had a scheduled slot weeks in advance. And she looked terrified. For a moment, Ethan could only stare. This was the same woman who could silence a room full of executives with one raised eyebrow. The same woman rumored to fire people without blinking. The same woman whose heels echoed like thunder across marble floors. Yet here she was at 6 a.m., barefoot at a quiet public beach, losing a battle with the waves. Instinct took over. "Miss Hale," he shouted without thinking. She whipped around, shock flashing through her eyes, shock at the tide, shock at the bag drifting farther out, shock that anyone knew her name here. "Don't just stand there, my bag," she yelled, but even her usual sharpness trembled. Ethan didn't hesitate. He sprinted forward, waded into the cold water, and lunged toward the floating leather bag just before a wave could drag it under. By the time he returned to shore, soaked to the bone, panting, and clutching the bag, his boss was staring at him with an expression he had never seen on her face. Something like surprise. And something even stranger, gratitude. "Rivera," she said slowly, as if she couldn't quite believe it was him. Morning, Ms. Hale," he managed, handing her the dripping bag. Her gaze didn't drop to the bag, or the water, or the sand. Instead, she kept staring at him, eyes lifted, unreadable. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "Running," he answered honestly, though his tired breath made the word sound like a question. She blinked several times, looked away, then whispered so softly he barely caught it. "Thank you." That was the moment, simple, quiet, unexpected, when Ethan's life began to change. And he had no idea how deep that change would go. Ethan had started working at Hale Innovations 6 months ago. He was young, 21, fresh out of university, the first in his family to make it that far. His mom taught primary school, his brother worked at a garage, and Ethan had dreams so big they sometimes scared him. He wanted to design things. Build things. Make life better for people who didn't grow up with opportunities handed to them. Landing a junior engineering role at one of the country's top tech firms had felt like winning the lottery. But working under Cassandra Hale was like standing in a constant storm. She was brilliant, intimidating, and demanding in a way that made people either rise or crumble. Most employees avoided her. Even senior managers didn't speak unless spoken to. Ethan? He barely dared breathe around her. So after that morning at the beach, he expected things to get awkward, maybe even worse. Instead, everything began to shift. It started the next Monday. He was at his desk, working through prototypes, when the entire office suddenly went quiet. Footsteps clicked across the floor, approaching him, deliberate, controlled, like the sound of oncoming judgment. He looked up and almost choked. Cassandra Hale was standing at his cubicle. Employees peeked over partitions, eyes wide as if expecting someone to get fired publicly. "Rivera," she said. "Yes, Ms. Hale? I want you to present your project proposal in tomorrow's executive review." His heart almost stopped. Only senior engineers presented in those meetings. Juniors sat outside, taking notes, hoping to get noticed someday. "But I haven't prepared anything formal," he stammered. Her eyes softened almost imperceptibly. "Then you have 24 hours. And she walked away. The office buzzed in confusion. Some whispered theories. Some eyed him with jealousy. Ethan sat frozen, unsure whether this was an opportunity or a setup for failure. He didn't know that Cassandra had seen something in him that morning at the beach, something more real than polished resumes or staged presentations. But he would soon find out. That night, Ethan stayed at the office until the janitors turned off the lights and wished him luck. He poured everything he had into the proposal, his ideas, his vision, his conviction that technology wasn't just for people at the top. By sunrise, his hands shook from too much coffee and too little sleep. The executive board meeting room felt like a courtroom. Huge glass walls, a long table where intimidating faces sat in silence, and at the head, Cassandra Hale. When she nodded at him to begin, his voice failed. His throat tightened. Every fear pressed against him like a weight. He remembered his childhood, his mom working late, his brother fixing cars to help pay bills, himself studying by candlelight during power cuts. He remembered why he was here. And he started. At first, his speech was shaky. But as he described his design, a low-cost, smart safety device for factories, something inside him steadied. He didn't speak like a nervous junior. He spoke like someone who believed. When he finished, the room was silent. One executive finally asked, "Isn't this idea too ambitious for someone at his level?" Ethan's heart sank. Then Cassandra spoke. "Ambition," she said, her voice cool but clear, "is exactly why we hired him." Every head snapped toward her. "And if any of you were aware of the industry numbers," she continued, "you'd know this concept has massive potential. Rivera sees what you don't. That is why I asked him to present." It felt unreal, his feared, unreachable boss standing up for him in front of top leadership. The project was approved. When the meeting ended, Cassandra approached him privately. "Good work, Rivera." "Thank you, Ms. Hale," he said, still processing everything. "If you don't mind me asking, why me?" Her expression flickered, hesitation, maybe vulnerability. "You didn't freeze at the beach," she said. "You didn't wait for orders. You acted. Most people don't." He nodded slowly. "You're capable," she added. "More than you realize." Those words struck him harder than any praise he'd ever received. That was the day his life tilted slightly, the beginning of something he would come to understand much later. Over the next few weeks, something unusual happened. Cassandra started checking in on his progress, not in the cold, surveillance-like way she usually dealt with teams, but with genuine interest. She asked for updates. She gave suggestions. Sometimes, she simply observed silently, arms crossed, before saying, "Do it again," or, "Explain your thought process." People whispered. Some envied him. Some accused him of favoritism. Others warned him to be careful. Cassandra Hale was unpredictable. But Ethan wasn't confused. Something about that morning at the beach had changed her. And she seemed determined to help change him in return. Still, he knew she carried something heavy beneath her cold exterior, something she never talked about. He was right. It was 6 weeks after the beach incident when he saw her again outside work, not by accident this time, but because she asked him to join her for a site visit at a manufacturing partner facility. After a long day inspecting equipment, she suggested they stop at a nearby diner for a quick meal. He was surprised. Cassandra Hale in a roadside diner? Unthinkable. But she looked tired, the kind of tired that seeps into someone's bones. Inside, the diner was warm and simple. Families talked over fries, kids argued over milkshakes, music played softly overhead. It was nothing like the rigid, silent boardrooms she lived in. They sat in a small booth. She removed her blazer, revealing a plain shirt beneath, something human, something unarmored. When the waitress arrived, Cassandra stared at the menu for a long time. "Take your time," Ethan said gently. She glanced at him, something unreadable in her eyes. Finally, she ordered a grilled sandwich. Ethan ordered the same. For several minutes,